The Supreme Court's decision landed like a bombshell. Trump's sweeping tariffs were struck down. Trump erupted on social media, calling the ruling a betrayal and warning it would destroy America. His top officials echoed his outrage, warning of economic disaster and national security threats. The administration's message was clear: the court had made a catastrophic mistake. For Trump, this wasn't just a policy loss, it was a personal and ideological blow. He framed the decision as an attack on his presidency, fueling his narrative of victimhood and defiance. The spectacle of a president attacking the Supreme Court so fiercely underscored the deepening distrust in American institutions. Trump's immediate visceral response was a calculated move to rally his base and frame the fight as president versus deep state. In a historic and closely watched ruling, the Supreme Court delivered a decisive blow to Trump's trade agenda, sending shockwaves through the political and legal landscape. The decision was widely anticipated, as it addressed fundamental questions about the limits of presidential authority. By a 7-4 majority, the justices declared his sweeping tariffs an unconstitutional overreach of executive power. The majority opinion was clear and forceful, emphasizing that the president cannot bypass established constitutional boundaries, even in the name of national security or economic urgency. The court affirmed that only Congress can impose such broad taxes, halting one of Trump's most controversial policies. This ruling not only struck down the tariffs but also reaffirmed the foundational principle of separation of powers, reminding the nation that legislative authority rests with Congress. Even with a conservative majority, the court refused to carve out an exception for Trump. The justices demonstrated their independence, showing that allegiance to the Constitution outweighs partisan loyalty or political pressure. The majority opinion underscored once again that the power to tax and regulate commerce belongs to Congress, not the president. This was a direct rebuke to any attempt to expand executive power beyond its constitutional limits. The court invoked the major questions doctrine, insisting that only Congress can authorize actions with vast economic impact. This doctrine, increasingly cited in recent years, serves as a safeguard against unilateral executive action on issues of national significance. This was a rare moment of judicial consistency, applying the same standard to Trump as to previous presidents. The court's decision reinforced the idea that no president, regardless of party or popularity, is above the law or immune from constitutional checks. The decision capped a long and contentious legal battle, with lower courts also ruling against the tariffs. Legal experts and advocates on both sides had closely followed the case, recognizing its potential to reshape the balance of power in Washington. By siding with those courts, the Supreme Court sent a clear message: emergency powers are not a blank check for the president. The ruling set a precedent that will likely influence future debates over executive authority and the use of emergency declarations. With this ruling, a central pillar of Trump's America First strategy collapsed under constitutional scrutiny. The decision not only reshaped trade policy, but also reaffirmed the enduring strength of the nation's founding principles, ensuring that the balance of power remains at the heart of American democracy. Tariffs are essentially taxes placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. When a government imposes tariffs, it makes imported products more expensive for consumers and businesses. The idea is to encourage people to buy domestically made goods instead, which can help local industries grow and create jobs at home. By raising the cost of foreign products, tariffs are designed to give American companies a competitive edge, making it easier for them to sell their products both in the U.S. and abroad. This approach is meant to protect American jobs and industries from overseas competition. Donald Trump's push for tariffs was deeply tied to his America First ideology. He argued that for decades, unfair trade deals and cheap imports had hurt American workers and led to a massive trade deficit, where the U.S. bought far more from other countries than it sold. Trump claimed that imposing tariffs would force other countries to negotiate fairer deals, bring back lost manufacturing jobs, and help close the trade gap. He saw tariffs as a tool to pressure trading partners into making concessions that would benefit the U.S. economy. Throughout his presidency, Trump made bold and sometimes exaggerated claims about the benefits of tariffs. He insisted they would generate trillions in revenue for the government, revive American manufacturing, and restore the country's economic strength and independence. For many of his supporters, tariffs became a powerful symbol of national sovereignty and economic revival, representing a break from the global trade policies of previous administrations. However, most economists warned that tariffs often backfire by raising prices for American consumers and businesses, and risk sparking damaging trade wars that can hurt the global economy. They argued that the costs of tariffs are usually passed on to shoppers in the form of higher prices. Despite these warnings, Trump viewed international trade as a zero-sum game, where one country's gain is another's loss. His tariff plan was a high-stakes gamble, aiming to reshape the global economic order in America's favor, even if it meant risking conflict with major trading partners. In the end, the Supreme Court's decision put a halt to Trump's tariff gamble, at least for now, leaving the future of American trade policy uncertain. The Supreme Court's decision hinged on the Constitution's separation of powers. The majority held that only Congress can impose taxes and tariffs. Presidential authority has limits. Trump's team argued the International Emergency Economic Powers Act gave him broad authority, but the court disagreed. The justices noted the law was meant to limit, not expand, presidential power, and contained no explicit tariff authority. Applying the major questions doctrine, the court ruled that sweeping economic policies require clear congressional approval. The decision drew a firm line. The president is not a king, even in foreign policy. The court rebuked the idea that emergencies justify bypassing Congress on major economic decisions. On the biggest questions, the Constitution demands Congress, not the president, has the final say. The Trump administration defended tariffs as essential for economic sovereignty and national security. They argued tariffs would protect American jobs, rebuild industry, and reduce reliance on foreign supply chains. Opponents, including business groups and economists, countered that only Congress can impose tariffs and that Trump's move was unconstitutional. They warned tariffs would raise prices for American families and risk retaliation from trading partners, hurting farmers and manufacturers. The legal fight was about process, not just policy. Critics insisted the president can't invent new taxing powers. Supporters saw tariffs as a path to prosperity. Opponents saw them as a recipe for economic pain and legal overreach. The Supreme Court ultimately sided with the critics, striking down the tariffs on constitutional grounds. The debate revealed deep divisions over trade, power, and the future of American economic policy. Independent experts warned that Trump's tariffs would hit American families hard, driving up everyday costs and straining household budgets across the country. A Yale study projected the average household would pay $2,400 more in 2025 due to higher prices on basic goods and services, making life more expensive for millions. The same analysis predicted 500,000 lost jobs and a $125 billion annual hit to the economy, with ripple effects felt in communities nationwide. Critics argued the tariffs functioned as a massive tax increase, with costs passed directly to consumers and businesses, squeezing both families and small companies. The administration claimed the tariffs would close the trade deficit and boost revenue, but mainstream economists strongly disagreed with these optimistic projections. Officials warned that blocking the tariffs would ruin the economy, creating a confusing and divisive public narrative for many Americans. Most experts agreed. The tariff plan was a risky gamble likely to harm, not help, the U.S. economy in the long run. The Supreme Court's decision marks a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over the limits of presidential authority. It's the latest in a series of high-profile legal defeats for Trump's expansive use of executive power, sending a strong message about the boundaries of the office. Over the past several years, courts have repeatedly pushed back against executive overreach, from blocking controversial military deployments to overturning retaliatory funding cuts aimed at political opponents. These rulings have underscored the judiciary's crucial role as a check on the presidency. The recent tariff ruling stands as the capstone of these efforts, reinforcing the principle that major economic policies, especially those with sweeping national impact, require congressional approval, not just a presidential signature. Public support for the tariffs was weak from the start. Most Americans, and even many within Trump's own party, voiced strong opposition. This lack of consensus made it difficult for the administration to claim a clear mandate. With the nation divided, the judiciary found it easier to step in and enforce constitutional limits, emphasizing the importance of checks and balances in American democracy. The Supreme Court's decision now sets a powerful precedent. Future presidents, regardless of party, will face tighter constraints on unilateral economic action and will need to work more closely with Congress to enact major policies. For Trump, the path forward is uncertain. He may use this defeat as a rallying cry, energizing his base and fueling his narrative that the system is stacked against him. This could shape the political landscape heading into the next election. The battle over presidential power is far from over, but for now, the court has drawn a clear line in the sand, reminding all future leaders that the Constitution, not the individual, remains the ultimate authority.